Broadcasting. Hello, hello, hello. We are waiting for people to join on in, and doors are open. We are ready to start having some fun around here. I
Woo!
am just, if I actually click it over to attendees, then I can see people coming in. It's amazing how this stuff works. Still learning. God, I just laugh at myself every time I start one of these. It's just like, what? How many blonde moments can I have, Kathy? So, hey guys, how are you doing? I am giving us another minute or two before we kick it off with Avalara. We have Jamie and Jeremy with us today. It is going to be freaking awesome. We're going to rock it. Um, Hopefully, we don't scare you too much about sales tax, but this is where you're going to get all your answers. I mean, come on. So let me know, pop into the chat. Let me know where you guys are from. What is your biggest concern with sales tax right now? Why you're here. And then if you have any questions, do me a favor and pop that into the Q&A area. I point like where my screen is over here with the Q&A area, whatever. Pop it into the Q&A so that we can help manage that a little bit better. It's just easier on the platform for us. And I think that's all the housekeeping stuff. So I am going to hand it over to Jamie and Jeremy. Avalara Pros, amazing, smart, everything, great people. And they're going to share with us everything we need to know about this stuff. So, yeah.
We're
What you
ready.
got, Jamie?
We're ready.
Yeah.
We'd like to make sales tax less taxing. It's
Well, there you
exciting.
go.
Very exciting. In the old world, when I first started at Avalara, people called us because they were being audited. And now people call us because they understand the importance of sales tax compliance. And Mr. Jeremy is going to tell us all about it. You want to get rolling on the presentation, Kathy?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let's get it.
Let's do it. All right. So I am Jamie Dunn. I am the Strategic Alliance Manager at Avalara, which means I work with all of the QuickBooks and small accounting firm partners, and I have for about 8 years. And Jeremy, introduce yourself.
My name is Jeremy. I'm a sales leader on the ESB team, so I work with a lot of emerging small businesses, e-commerce sellers, QuickBook users like yourself. So a lot of people who are currently expanding some of their changes, dealing with a lot of sales tax changes. And I see in the chat we have somebody from High Point, North Carolina. I'm in Durham, so hello, High Point.
Awesome.
But yeah, excited to get this rolling today.
Cool. We're going to have a little, it's a very simple agenda, why sales tax matters, talk about the partner program. And as we've agreed to with Miss Kathy, we would love for you guys to interject with questions throughout the presentation. Let's get any of your questions answered.
So yes, Avalara, first publicly traded, first built into the cloud. We have over 30,000 customers, and the numbers here speak for themselves. We file over 2 million returns annually, almost 18 billion transactions processed annually. We definitely expect more going into this new year, especially with COVID happening. A lot of businesses switching to e-commerce or people trying to find different ways to generate revenue. We like to say you can't outgrow Avalara, from your QuickBooks all the way to your JD Oracles, NetSuites, what have you. So managing sales tax. Again, you're going to see a lot of numbers. I'm not a big fan of just reading slides to people because you guys are intelligent people and you can read. But a lot of rules here. 12,000+ taxing jurisdictions. A lot of people will go based off of zip codes, way more tax rules, rates rules. You have to update those on the back end, creating a lot of work for your IT people, finance, potentially, we work with a lot of people who have maybe under 10 people in their company. Who wants to look up every rate, rule, and boundary? Exemptions. There's a lot of facets to indirect tax compliance that we'll cover here shortly. We can go to the next slide. Sales tax overview. So right now, and we can also go to the next slide. So Nexus is going to be an industry term, and this is where it really all starts. And you start any sales tax conversation with Avalara or any other provider, just yourself. Nexus is going to be the key driving factor. Where do you have an obligation? And that could be through a number of different ways. But this is an obligation to a state to at least be registered, potentially collect and remit. So these are the different reasons that a lot of businesses, especially like yours, would have to get registered with the state. Owning and leasing property, boots on ground, inventory, traveling salespeople, even trade shows. I know trade shows aren't necessarily a lot or a real driving factor in COVID world, but these are reasons that a business would immediately have to get registered and start collecting. I work with a lot of businesses who have employees in other states, remote employees, and don't realize that they at least need to be registered and potentially collecting and remitting. Go ahead.
Jeremy, you had affiliates on there. What would be an example of an affiliate?
An affiliate, so a good example of an affiliate is like an MLM. So if you have a brand ambassador, so my mom is part of pharmacy, and they do a lot of skincare, essentials, botanicals, things like that. And she is a brand rep. So pharmacy is not based where she is, and pharmacy, uses a tax compliance solution, but they need to be registered in every state that they have a rep. That's an affiliate. So even though that person may be selling something like Avon, they at least need to be registered in that state for sales tax purposes.
Okay, so while they're not exactly an employee because they're selling it related to, yes, okay.
They're quote unquote an affiliate. So yeah, that's an obligation, an immediate obligation.
Okay.
But where things really changed and started getting interesting is 2 years ago in South Dakota versus Wayfair. So before we dealt with physical or traditional nexus, and that's probably the form that a lot of you are very familiar with. So boots on ground, inventory, we're just located in one state. That's the state that we need to be collecting and registering. South Dakota went to the Supreme Court against Wayfair, pointing out that these laws are 20 years old, and the way that consumers buy is completely different now. They buy online. Your business may never step foot into a state, but you've sold enough. And South Dakota wanted some sales tax. So eventually, South Dakota was ruled in favor from the Supreme Court. And now we have economic nexus. So now if you sell a certain amount to a state, transactions or dollars sold, you're actually required to get registered and start collecting within that state. You have done enough to deem or create a presence without ever stepping foot. So physical presence is still intact, but now you have to look at your sales volume into a state, whether it be total transactions or dollars sold. So when this happened in June of 2018. I had been in Avalara for not a very long time, but as soon as this court ruling came out, it was crazy. We had a lot of people with a lot of questions. And as you can see, there was a couple states that were very early adopters. A lot of these states went live throughout 2019. A few have gone live in 2020, and a few have even changed their laws. And I actually read an article yesterday that Missouri is in court right now to figure out how they want to go about implementing economic nexus. So the only sales tax collecting state that has not passed economic nexus is Florida.
Do you think that's in the hopper?
I think Florida has some other things that they need to figure out first, but they are definitely probably really eager to go back into that conversation about implementing that. Because as you can see here on this chart, the amount of businesses and states that you need to be in has significantly increased. 30% of businesses need to be in 20 or plus more states registered and collecting just due to their economic nexus presence. And a lot of the businesses, especially the ones that I talk to, may not know or be aware moving into that.
Yeah, what percentage do you think people are not aware?
Over half of the people that I get to talk to on a daily basis don't know that economic nexus is a thing. And then, probably even if they are aware, they're not sure where they need to be, which is something that Avalara can assist with, and we'll cover here a little bit later on the deck.
Cool.
Yeah, I've seen studies lately from webinars that we've done where at least half the people are still using Excel spreadsheets to manage their sales tax compliance. It is crazy.
Wow.
The one thing that, and I hope at the end of the day, the one thing I really hope people take away from this is your customer determines where you have an obligation now. You don't make that determination. Your customers determine where you need to be registered and collecting. So this is what we just covered, but physical presence is one aspect of an obligation. Economic nexus is something that's newer, but it is definitely causing a lot more businesses to really evaluate their footprint and their overall compliance responsibility. So how does this affect your business? Getting registered. Once you get registered in a new state, and I'm sure that some people on this have gotten registered before, what's the process? Each state has a different process, different forms, different requirements, what forms you need to file. It's a nightmare. I had talked to a few people who were on the verge of tears before, just because they were unsure of what to do. If you go from one state to 10 states, that's a big responsibility. Then you also have to take into account other aspects of your business. So do you have exempt sales? Do you drop ship? Do your vendors require you to be registered, or are they going to charge you sales tax? This affects way more aspects of just collecting sales tax.
Mm. And isn't it like, I mean, every state's going to have different requirements on, where you register and how you start the registration. And then you don't want to do the wrong thing. And then you're stuck with having to do like $0 returns for the rest of your life.
And some states that's required, and that's something that we'll get to a little bit later on the deck. But sometimes you have to file that $0 return,
Right.
because you do have that burden of proof. But they're not making it easier. There's a few states that have actually changed their economic nexus laws. So for example, when California went live in 2019, their economic nexus threshold was $100,000 or 200 transactions. In the middle of the month, they changed it to $500,000. So a lot of people went ahead and got registered in California because 200 transactions is a very low threshold. I don't know if anybody on this call has tried to deregister with the state. That's also not very fun. Arizona has changed their economic nexus threshold every year since they've implemented in 2018. They're also going to change it again next year.
Wow.
Kansas has a law right now. If you make one sale into Kansas, you need to be registered and collecting.
It's so rude.
Ugh.
It's so hard for our accounting friends and so hard for small business owners, but the states are making millions of dollars off of it and getting away with it. So here we are.
And a lot of the conversations that I've been having with some of the CPAs and accounting partners and just even tax attorneys that I work with, the one thing that they keep saying is sales tax is low-lying fruit. A lot of states have had budget deficits because of COVID. I actually read an article. Illinois suffered a $2.2 billion loss in revenue in Q2. So where are they going to make that up moving into the new year? It's sales tax, and especially for remote sales or economic nexus. That's the lowest lying fruit, and that's where they're gearing up this year to determine, moving into 2021, how to make up for COVID budget deficits.
Well, and so many businesses had to shift to virtual. So now you are selling in a whole bunch more places than you were.
Exactly. Think about every business that went and started working from home. You may be based in New York, but your employees live in New Jersey. Well, now that they're working from New Jersey, you actually might have an obligation. I haven't been back in the office since March, and the people that have gone back have definitely been really safe, but it's definitely changed the footprint, just even working from home.
Right.
So 5 steps for managing sales tax. And first step is, again, where do you have an obligation? So Avalara actually does provide a service, and I know that there's some tax professionals on this call. So we partner with you guys. You are our best source of referrals. We love working with you, and Avalara wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for our partner network of tax professionals such as yourself. So we don't ever want to overlap or take away business from what you do. So if you assist with sales tax, returns, nexus studies, we will obviously ask that at the beginning. We don't ever want to overlap. We want to partner with you to make sure that your customers are successful and happy, and that you're providing the best tax compliance experience. We're a solution or a tool at the end of the day, so you let us know how it needs to be used. But we do provide nexus studies, tax determinations, filing returns, exemption certificate management, and remittance, a full compliance suite.
I didn't even think about nexus studies. So is that, I mean, just really easy to find on the website and everything?
So yes, we do have a free nexus assessment tool on the website at a very high level. So you could put in a few pieces of information. We can identify what states you've most likely triggered an obligation in. If it's something that you need to take a deeper dive into, so let's say that you've had an employee in a state in the past, traveling salespeople, trade shows, or even worried about your economic nexus footprint. Do you advertise on other people's websites? That could be a click-through nexus. We do provide nexus studies that do go into that level of granularity to identify where you create a nexus and when.
Nice.
Yeah, I would just throw into that mix that when I first started at Avalara, we were really focused on calc and returns, and we manage every single piece of sales tax compliance, which Jeremy's going to get into, that you can utilize. And once again, we don't want to take any business away from you guys. We're here to support you and be that arm. And
Oop, you muted yourself.
oh, I was done.
Yeah. I just remember what's great is I remember in industry, I worked for this global construction company. We were going into like some construction sites in south of the United States, southern states, right? And we had never been there before. And trying to figure it out was impossible. And there were people in the accounting department somewhere else that were like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And it just seemed like they weren't necessarily getting it. So I was like knee deep in the websites, the law, the everything. It just was painful. And I still wasn't confident in what the answer was, because they're not going to really like tell you, no, you can't, you don't need to submit tax here. It's looking for, yes, we're going to tell you you have to collect.
Yeah, I have not met, I spend my entire day talking to accountants, CPAs, pro advisors, and bookkeepers. I have not met one person in the last 3 years that wants to touch sales tax with a 10-foot pole because it's so complicated.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that I've never had a conversation where people were really excited about tackling sales tax. More of a sense of urgency.
Right.
So yeah, but and as I mentioned at the beginning, we were the first tax engine built into the cloud. So again, no updating rates, rules, boundaries, none of that back end work. If you have a product that has varying taxability, we track all that. We work with the states to keep track of this. Our content team, can't even begin to explain how big and robust and how hard that team works to update everything through the cloud. So we're pre-built into QuickBooks, NetSuite, Magento, and everything happens in real time. So you invoice a customer and we will go down to the ship to location by line item and make a rooftop determination. That information is stored within Avatax or the cloud-based solution. We can then also take that sales tax collected and file and remit back to the states on your behalf, just about any jurisdiction at any frequency. I can think of very few returns that cannot be filed, maybe one or two that I've ever heard. And then this is something that we actually provide within the Avatax console. So this is an economic nexus tracker, and this is something that we provide free of charge within Avatax. So once you get to 80% of a state's threshold, the map will populate and you'll see at the bottom, there's a yellow state letting you know that you're at 80%. Once you've crossed the economic nexus, the state will turn dark orange. The reason why we have this set for 80% is that's where a lot of businesses that we work with begin their registration process, because when you're required to get registered varies by state. So for some states, you need to be registered and collecting within 30 business days. There's a few that say within 60 business days. There's actually one or two that actually say by the next calendar year. But there are a few that say you need to be registered and collecting by the next business day. So either the 201st transaction or the 100,001st dollar, because those are the most common thresholds out of the 43 economic nexus collecting states.
Wow.
Exemption certificates, and this is probably the most difficult aspect, especially with remote sales or economic nexus. These are the challenges that you deal with exemption certificates. And you know, you get registered in a state. Now you have the burden of proving that the sale is tax exempt. So out of the economic nexus collecting states, there are maybe 5 or 6 that do not count gross sales. So taxable or non-taxable transactions do count towards your economic nexus threshold. What does that mean for a business like yours? That means you would at least be required to get registered with that state, file a $0 return at whatever frequency they deem, but then be able to prove that your tax exempt documents are valid, up to date, and ready to prove at any point. This is the big point of audit for especially businesses that I work with, is they can't find these documents or they can't validate these documents. You may have salespeople that have them in their car, in a filing cabinet. You know, I actually worked with a business this year. They had a flood and everything was stored in an actual cardboard box. They weren't very excited about it. So, and who is an exemption certificate, you know, expert anyways? There are hundreds and hundreds of different forms, whether it be for educational, tribes, you know, government entities, tax exempt entities. There's a lot of forms. Yeah, we actually worked with somebody. They were given one for a restaurant and they were working with a B2B manufacturer, and they had no clue until an audit came through. So there's a lot of, these are the highest risk parts as far as indirect tax compliance goes. Streamlined sales tax, and this is where we get into how you can leverage Avalara for free, and this is one of the best programs. So streamlined sales tax is a list of 24 states that got around actually before Wayfair and determined sales tax is hard, let's make this a little bit easier. So Avalara is one of 4 certified service providers that can actually provide uniform tax determination, audit defense, and just streamline this whole process. So as long as you meet a few qualifications, what those qualifications are: less than 50K worth of property, less than 50K worth of payroll, no fixed place of business for 30 days, and less than overall 25% property and payroll in any of the 24 states on the next slide, they will actually, you can get free registrations, free monthly returns, and free tax calculations. If you're getting registered in a state strictly because of economic nexus, this program is a no-brainer. I've worked with a lot of people who were worried about getting in all these states, found out about this program. It's done wonders, and a lot of people, you know, are super thankful for SST. I can't really explain it enough. But we've actually worked with that program. One of our VPs was the one who actually came up with this program, Scott Peterson. And he's definitely given a lot of webinars on this program as well.
So Jeremy, if you qualify for SST, but you're also needing to remit in California, you just do that separately outside of the SST program?
Correct. So Avalara can assist with both. So we can get you registered in a non-SST state, and you would leverage our solutions, but then we would also work with one of our project planners to get you set up in SST. So you fill out the application and then set it up within the console, and then they're actually paying for those services on your behalf. Now you can enroll in SST as a non-volunteer remitter, but you cannot leverage the free benefits. So for some people it does make sense, some people it doesn't. And these are the qualifications for volunteer versus non-volunteer. And as you see, the last 3 at the bottom is if you meet those stipulations before, you can leverage our services at no cost. Consumer use tax, and I know this one makes people's skin crawl. It's definitely not my favorite aspect of indirect tax. But what we're able to do is, excuse me, is owed by the buyer when they are not taxed the full amount owed by a purchase of taxable tangible personal property by the seller. Change of disposition can also trigger these examples below, but most importantly, and you'll know this if you go to the next slide, these are the industries that really deal with consumer use tax. So if this is something that you're managing in an Excel file or on a piece of paper, you definitely set up a call with Avalara. We could provide a demo on how the product works. It's automation for consumer use tax, and I know that probably sounds like a foreign sentence, but it's something that we've actually mastered.
What would
People
be
like to ignore this though, right? Sorry, Kathy.
Oh, go ahead.
So, just a prime example, if you're not sure, is if you were to purchase software and you're located in North Carolina, but you have users in South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Well, the person who sold you the software is only going to charge you North Carolina sales tax if they have an obligation. It's actually the responsibility of you, the business, to self-assess use tax for the licenses used in those other states. A lot of businesses forget this. They do this incorrectly, or they do it wrong. And then this is the other big issue with audits is if you self-assess use tax incorrectly.
So what would be an example in like hospitality?
Hospitality, same thing. If they purchase are you talking about for hotels or
Whatever, yeah, whatever is under.
Let's say you had a consultant come on site, and you would have to self-assess use tax. Or if somebody didn't charge you sales tax and it's one of those things that you should, this is something that you would have to self-assess. There's a lot of if-then scenarios.
Right.
But yeah, this is definitely something that we would get a call set up with one of our engineers, demo the product, and then just compare it to your process. But the few people that I've worked with that were just handling this on Excel, we were significantly more accurate and saved literally days out of every month.
Wow. And that's worth any cost. Yeah.
And then cross-border. So this is the one thing that I'm actually most excited about that Avalara has added this year is cross-border functionality. So a lot of people are selling online now. People are selling overseas, and especially during COVID, you're adding new customers. I know since the pandemic has happened, I've bought a lot of things that I shouldn't. I've bought them from places that I never would because I have time to look on the internet. So now Avalara is actually able to calculate cross-border customs and duties real-time in shopping carts. So no more getting hit with a bill after, and I don't know if either of you have dealt with this before, if you've purchased something and then received a bill later on actually being charged more because that company was not able to calculate your customs and duties in real time. They were actually found out once they got to a customs broker that they were charged more. So Avalara is able to provide this real time within your shopping cart. So your customers know immediately what this costs to get to them. So let's say you're purchasing from a company based in England. I buy clothes and shoes all the time. So this happens to me way more than I care to admit. Then find out, oh, wow, this costs this much to get here. Avalara can do that in real time. We have that pre-built into a lot of different platforms. We're adding more every month. We're also able to map your harmonized codes or HS codes. So what a lot of people don't realize is just because you sell a sandal doesn't mean you use the same HS code for every country. The materials in that sandal could actually vary that HS code. So this has alleviated anything getting stuck in customs. We're able to handle DDP and DAP. So selling overseas is something that's on your roadmap or something that you're currently handling. Definitely reach out to Avalara so we could set up a call, explain how that works, and just see if your process would work for you.
I'm just feeling really dumb with all of those acronyms. Like, what?
Yeah, if you're planning on selling overseas, set up the call. We will explain all those acronyms. And if you're already selling overseas, I'm sure you feel very angry about those acronyms.
Well, and hopefully they know about them if they are already selling overseas.
Yeah, just to throw onto that, actually, it's like because Avalara has grown into a worldwide leader in sales tax compliance, doesn't mean we can't help the smallest customer. Jeremy and I do several deals every week for under $100 a year. We can help, a tiny company that's just getting going up to a humongous company like Gucci or Prada or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no company too small for us, and our pricing, especially in the QuickBooks space, is very competitive.
Yeah, we can help you as much or as little as you like. We present a full compliance suite, but if your clients, you are dealing with just sales tax calculations, remittance, you just want to know where you need to be registered, or you're looking for a solution that you can grow with or into, we're more than happy to help. So these are all our different professional services that we provide through our tax advisory team. And again, we don't want to take away anything from a CPA, tax attorney, any tax professionals. So, if a voluntary disclosure agreement is something that you don't want to touch, we're more than happy to help. But we do have a team made of tax advisory, former CPA state auditors. So if a scoping call was necessary, we'd be more than happy to figure out what services we can assist with. And these are just our value props: accuracy, efficiency, risk management, customer satisfaction, and business growth. Avalara is only successful for two reasons: our partners and our customers. And if they aren't successful, then we aren't successful. And currently, right now, we're running a promotion till the end of the year. It's called a 90-day promotion. So right now, if you were to sign up with Avalara, you actually get net 90 payment terms and 90 days extra of no cost service. So you don't pay Avalara anything for 90 days, and you get 3 months of no cost service. You pay for 12 months, you get 15 months for the cost of 12 is probably the best way. And right now we're also running 50% off of our Nexus study. So typically a cost of $4,500. Right now you get a Nexus study. So every state for $2,225.
Wow.
That's usually like an 80-page document or something crazy on.
Is there anyone to walk through it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, as soon as you complete the questionnaire, we actually sit down with our tax advisory team for about 45 minutes to an hour, go through the findings, make sure that you put in everything correctly, and then also create a compliance plan from there. So here's where we need to look at historical liability. Here's where you need to be immediately. Here's where we need to keep an eye out.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I think the next part is Jamie's specialty.
Yes, and I'm not muted. Thank you. That was awesome. Actually, should we open it up for Q&A a little bit? See if anybody has some questions about a specific client, or obviously anonymously, or you want to let's play Stump Jeremy.
There are no dumb questions.
No, there are no dumb questions.
Yeah, so I asked in that, and then I am streaming to Facebook, so I am posted over there to see if anyone has any questions too. So I do on a couple of things of like logistically how it integrates with QBO a little bit, and what others. Well, first, what else systems do you integrate with?
It would actually be shorter for me to say the ones that we don't integrate into. So we have about 750, I believe 800 now plus pre-built integrations. And QuickBooks is one of our strongest and easiest because it's already pre-built. It's downloading the plugin and then making the connection between AvaTax and QuickBooks. Right. So there's no development work. It's literally downloading an app. And let's say that you have a custom solution. Well, we do offer probably the strongest API in the industry, which is 80% of the tax engine. And then somebody with a basic understanding of coding would finish the other 20%.
And so what happens if we have like multiple revenue like sources that go in? How does that all dealt with?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So it really all depends on where you need tax determined and where that's going to be reconciled. But let's say that you have different channels with different platforms. Avalara can actually plug into each system and provide one central location for reporting and remittance. So because we're cloud-based, let's say that you had 6 different websites and you had QuickBooks on the back end. We can actually plug into each website. And if all orders are going to be reconciled in some ERP or even a middleware like WebGility, we can plug into all those, make a determination, finalize on the back end, and provide one location. I worked with a customer the other day. They had 12 different websites and 2 different versions of QuickBooks. We were able to get in all of them, accurate determinations on each website, each product, and filing returns in, I believe, 24 states now.
Holy cow. Yeah, and so one thing I've seen in the past that when you go into QBO, it's not using the module, sales tax module, because you're not using QBO's sales tax, right? We're getting a better feature with more flexibility on things. So you actually add a line item on there, right?
Correct.
Is it just one line item, and then how can you see like the backup or support of how that's calculated?
Yeah, so in actual invoice on QuickBooks, you'll just see a single line item that says AvaTax. Now, if you go to the AvaTax console, you can actually get a very granular breakdown of each product, each service, what have you. and where it was taxed. So, for example, in this address that I use in California, it has a state, county, and 2 special jurisdictions. Let's say that you invoice somebody within 5 miles of a police station in Alabama. There's actually an added tax there. If you're within, I believe, 2 miles of a stadium, you have a stadium tax.
What?
So it's crazy. In Louisiana, you have to take into account parishes, and that's why a rooftop determination is so much more accurate than a zip code. So within AvaTax, you'll be able to see state, county, any special jurisdictions taken into account, and if product has varying taxability. So another example is software is 80% taxable in Texas. It's tax exempt in California, and I believe that it might be taxable in North Carolina now. But wherever you set that invoice, you'll be able to see this within AvaTax.
That's awesome. I got lawn guys outside, so I'm trying to make sure I'm not distracting anyone. I'm like, why? Why do they have to show up right this second?
Can't hear anything. They're all good.
Good. The headset's supposed to be noise canceling, but we'll see. Yeah, so we have someone, can it separate GST for Canada on travel reimbursement expenses? So an example, charging a customer for a hotel where GST was on the receipt. I feel dumb. And the customer needs the GST separated on their invoice.
On separating an invoice? Yes. I do believe I'd like to get on a call with that person and just figure out exactly what the invoice looks like in the invoicing process. But I do believe that it is something that can be done.
I'll just throw in, we don't work in Canadian QuickBooks, but we do VAT and GST.
We do have content for Canada, which is just turning it on. So we're able to calculate in Canada. We can get you registered in the provinces. We do also, and something else that I didn't mention earlier, we do offer state registrations. So even for those non-SST states, we recently acquired a company, businesslicenses.com. You fill out a single questionnaire for whatever state you need to get registered in. And then within 2 to 3 business days, you get your sales tax ID and filing calendar. We've worked with a couple people this year that have been trying to get registered, and especially with COVID, limiting Department of Revenues, it's taken them 6 to 8 weeks to get registered or hear back from somebody. And they're the industry leader in sales tax registrations.
Well, that's a lot. That's a little.
We do all the things.
Awesome. One thing I've noticed with so many sales tax is that they always say that you work with accrual based reporting. Is it possible to be like a cash basis company and then still when you sign up and say I'm going to do accrual based reporting?
You can, and that's definitely something I would consult with the executive on the call. It really depends on when you get paid, and there's a way to work through it. But we're typically an accrual-based system, so we can't remit on your behalf, but we can assist with determinations.
Okay, yeah, because it's one of those things. I know I had a client way back when that had sales tax, and we were cash basis, but things were changing on the invoices afterwards, and it was like just a mess. So I feel like accrual based would be easier, and it comes down to like, as the tax preparer for the business taxes, like, which does it have to be the same necessarily? I don't know what those rules are. But I know I'm thinking about it. Like I had a client recently based off of the tax rules of like last year, the year before, their tax preparer was like, hey, let's go ahead and switch to accrual because it's going to be better for you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it does seem like, I feel like cash is just there's so many more nuances on how you can like kind of screw up when the cash is received. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
if it's going to make it hard
for certain industries, it makes a lot more sense to be a cash-based, filing. And if you have a higher priced item or if you don't get paid within 60 days, yeah, it makes sense to be cash-based. But if you're within 60 days, or you trust your vendors, or that you'll get paid, definitely filing on accrual might be a little bit easier.
Well, yeah, it just seems. Just thinking about it out loud and figuring what all the stuff, if you're filing a return and someone can be like, oops, that cash was actually received. Like, next month or whatever, and I actually, like made that mistake before I did the return and all that sort of stuff. It's like, well, the invoice date didn't change.
Just
That
another
would
fun
be like,
aspect.
that would be a little bit easier if we just went off of that. Who knows? So those are some things. So I got that question. And what other accounting systems do you work with past QBO? Because obviously, you were saying several before, right?
Yeah, so we're pre-built into Dynamics, NetSuite, Sage, a lot, different e-commerce carts, Magento, Shopify Plus, WooCommerce. It'd be quicker for me to list the ones that we aren't pre-built into. But odds are, if it's an established ERP, we probably have a pre-built integration, and even if you have a custom solution, we're able to work with you as well.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy to check on your website. I found that just under products, and you can see the integrations on there, everything you got. So,
and hopefully people are going to reach out to Jeremy and I for their future questions. Don't go to our website. Come to us. We're your
the website
shop.
can be a little confusing too.
And I can circumnavigate that. The one thing that I just want to make sure everybody knows is, if you're ever asking why would I outsource or automate my sales tax compliance, because who wants to? It's a zero revenue generating process, but it's the exact same reason you automate payroll. Why? It's a pain to do. If you do it right, you don't get a cookie. And if you do it wrong, it's a big deal. It's the same thing with sales tax compliance.
Right.
If you do it, it's a pain to do. If you do it right, you don't get a cookie. And if you do it wrong, it's a really big deal, and it can end up costing you more money.
So it sounds like you guys are really do a big consultative approach to it. Is that right? Like, it's really get on a call, figure out what's the best fit for you, and get you there.
Correct.
And then it sets up and goes. And you then can reach out with questions anytime things come up, or what is it? How does that all work?
Let me tell you, this is how you do it.
Oh, there we go. I didn't even know that was there, guys. I did not tee this up. I swear to God.
Sorry to interrupt, Jeremy. So we have a team of 25 people that are completely dedicated to QuickBooks. The only reason Jeremy's picture's not on this little hard card is because this was made last year when we were visiting the Intuit corporate headquarters and Sykes headquarters. But Matt Hammond, who many of you know, is Jeremy's manager. So we have a dedicated team. Imagine this: 3,000 employees at Avalara. We're in 100 plus countries. We are a dedicated team to small accounting firms, bookkeepers, pro advisors. We like to say we're QuickBooks focused, but all attachments to QuickBooks are excellent. Like Jeremy was saying, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, Shopify, Magento, the list goes on of the things that are connected to QuickBooks these days, as we all know. So you have a dedicated team. We never ever want you going to 1-800-Avalara. We want you to come to Jeremy or myself. That's my contact information right there. If you are not an Avalara partner, please talk to me. There's nothing but benefits with commissions, spiffs. You can have a free, not for retail license of the product to use if you personally have any tax compliance obligations. We have a marketing team. Many of you probably know Rebecca Brandyberg, who we stole from Intuit's QSP channel. She's now our marketing manager for this space. We want to load you up with materials and education on sales tax compliance. And as Jeremy said, there's absolutely no question that's stupid. It is a consultative approach. There's no smoke and mirrors to sales tax compliance. Jeremy could never really sell you something you don't need. It's either you need it or you don't. I like to call it, it's like toilet paper. You either need it or you don't. That was really funny when COVID started, by the way. And then we also have something called the AvaPro certification program. It's a 10-hour online course where you can actually see how AvaTax works inside QuickBooks. Avalara has a whole nother certification program that I believe takes weeks and costs money. This is free. This is specific to QuickBooks. You do it at your own pace. If you're interested in signing up for this program, again, there's nothing to it other than getting a login. And in fact, I think it would be amazing information to be able to just, study.
Is there a test or something at the end of it?
Yeah, there's little things you have to pass, but again, like nobody's going to know. You could probably take it 20 times.
Well, and you can also use it as a resource then, right?
It's a resource, right? I'm going to be honest with you. The original reason I created this program was so that you guys could make money helping to implement Avatax with your customers. But what I've realized is this is more of an educational piece, because most of my QuickBooks focused partners don't want to do anything with sales tax, so they don't really want to help their clients implement it. They want Avalara to do it.
Right.
But this is a great educational piece, and if you are interested in earning extra money by helping your clients go live, then this would be something cool to do. That is basically all I've got on the partner program. Again, no smoke and mirrors to it. It costs nothing. You could be a partner with Avalara. You could be a partner with Vertex. It's all fine, but we'll just support you as much as we can to be that arm in sales tax compliance.
So I don't need to have a client right now that has sales tax to be a partner?
You do not. And we will just get you anything. I mean, before COVID, I would say, Kathy, we're coming to your town. We're going to, take all your customers out to lunch. You will do however you speak to your customer base, whether it's newsletters, webinars, live events. We're there to support you in this partner program to make sure you have what you need with sales tax compliance, and really smart people like Jeremy. I'm the go-between.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, if you've tried to look at anything sales tax, you just feel like you need to have a degree in it, because and you have to be doing it all the time.
Yeah.
To be up to date on everything, because I am not reading articles about sales tax, Jeremy. I'm sorry.
No.
You can definitely do that for me.
And that's what I get to do in my free time.
And it excites you.
That's what the beard is for.
Being an expert in sales tax is like knowing the speed limit on every road without seeing a sign. So good luck with that.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's a nightmare.
Well, in Atlanta, where I am on 285, they have like the digital speed limits. They change
it at any time. Yeah.
Oh, geez. Great.
I'm like, I've taken a picture before where I'm stopped, like there's traffic and stopped in traffic, and I look over and the speed limit's like 35. I'm like, we can't even get there. Like,
Atlanta is known for its good driving, I'm
like, what is this sign here for? It's a joke. It's like where I hope to be is 35. I'm going 0. But that's it's awesome. And I like how it seems like it's important for us as bookkeepers and accountants to know the possibility of a trigger. Like, we don't have to know the trigger itself, but know that this thing is out here, and then have a resource to go to ask for real help versus trying to read the state's website, which, like I said, I've tried to do, and it's kind of miserable. And there's never a clear-cut way of getting there, Well,
as Jeremy showed a slide earlier, where we have a Nexus tracker inside our primary product Avatax. Mm-hmm. That's where I was saying you could sign up for Avatax, Jeremy, right, for $95 a year just to track your Nexus as you're growing.
I've had a couple people do that within the last couple of weeks. And, if you're wondering if you should be looking at a solution, questions you should ask yourself: do I have customers outside of the state? Do I do $100,000 or 200 transactions outside of the state? Do I have
200 transactions? Could they be $10 each?
They could be 10. I've worked with somebody who sold mugs, created economic nexus about 6 states just selling mugs this year, because people are at home drinking coffee and they saw cool mugs on the internet. They were advertising on Instagram. They actually advertised on my Instagram.
And that's how you found them.
Yeah. So these are those kind of things.
On Instagram, be like, you probably have to collect sales tax.
My lady and I actually have a shared Google document to see who advertises on our social medias, and then I'll reach out to those people.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I've got one for you. Big Hog rubs and butts. I got it in Tennessee. It's the most amazing pork rub, rub stuff. And the guy just called me the other day. He just won like the international barbecuing contest, and I've been meaning to follow up with him because I know he's using QuickBooks. I'll get
Yeah,
it to you,
and
Jeremy.
also another thing, and we kind of touched on this lightly, is if you have something with varying taxability across the U.S. So right now, PPE, clothing, software, digital products. Digital products are taxable in half states people don't realize. So, you know, as you buy something from the iTunes store, there's sales tax now probably in whatever state you're in. So these are also other considerations of why you would potentially want to leverage a sales tax solution.
Here's a question I got you for that relates to bookkeepers. If a bookkeeper is charging a flat fee that includes the software subscription, could that trigger a sales tax in, I don't know what state, but is that something that people need to be aware of? If I'm covering the cost of the software for a client, like QuickBooks Online subscription as part of my accounting services, how does that work?
Yeah, so that varies by the state, but especially if it's something that's being bundled, that could make everything taxable.
Oh, crap.
You know, so services are actually starting to get taxable in more and more states. So 2017, South Carolina made just about all its services taxable, and then within 2018, North Carolina started making services taxable. So, you know, again, who wants to track all this?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I know you guys know I love Intuit and QuickBooks, but in telling accountants to do the wholesale billing, that has been freaking me out since the beginning. Because I'm like, if you are bundling that in, you got to really know the state that you're in. And then knowing like we're all going virtual so we can have clients anywhere, it just really freaks me out. And that's from the beginning, I've been like, nope, keep it. You can pay your own subscription. You're good over there. But yeah, that's something that people really need to be aware of.
Yeah, and we want to partner with businesses long term to maintain tax compliance and just be seen as an extension of your business.
Right. And back to what you said, low hanging fruit. I always tell my clients it's the smaller tax agencies that are going to get you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the IRS is the Department of Labor is coming for you. Like they're aware, and yeah, sales tax those people are going to get you first, I think, before the IRS would get you.
They coming after you. And actually, we have 7 minutes left, Jeremy. Maybe you should tell some of those fun stories about coffee cups or mattresses. I mean, there's crazy. I mean, these stories are probably 8 years old at this point in time, but states are hiring auditors to come after small business owners. They don't care.
Well, we do have a question that just came in. It says, does it handle track when there's sales tax holidays?
Yes, that is a great question. So we do handle sales tax holidays. You know, as long so we operate through tax codes, and that's how we're able to track product taxability. Or even if it's something that's just fully taxable, we do take into account sales tax holidays, product. You know, there's one state that makes utilities like dishwashers tax exempt like 2 times a year, and we take that into account.
And it all comes down to mapping the product service, right? And like if you're doing QBO integration, it's mapping the product service so that you know what it is based off of, like, I kind of remember looking at it, like you have kind of a drop down or something like, yeah, this is what this is.
Yeah, so we actually have a tax code matrix, which is so awesome. You just select the category, and then it gets very granular and helps you identify a tax code. If it's something that you're actually having issues identifying, we can get you pointed in the right direction.
Awesome. So here's what crazy stories do you have?
The two things that I've heard, you know, this one's kind of an old one, but there is a mattress company that is based in Oregon, and then they would just drive over to Washington every day to deliver mattresses with their own.
It's literally just a bridge that takes you from Vancouver, Washington to Portland. It's like 3 miles.
So there's no sales tax in Oregon. And an auditor was just sitting there drinking coffee on the Washington side, and he watched his truck go over. And then eventually he started watching it go over every day. Oh. So he called them and actually saw how much it would be to get a mattress over to his place in Washington, and asked them, "Do you charge sales tax?" Said no. So he ended up going and auditing them, and I believe it came out to a $3.2 million audit when it was all said and done, just because they were delivering with their own trucks into Washington for years. And he ended up having to close that business. Now I know the word audit is probably making everybody on this call's neck cringe. No one ever wants to hear that term, but these are just some of the little nuances. There are actually companies that sell credit card transaction data back to the states. So
Really?
states are aware. This will be a fun Google search for a Friday afternoon, but look up some of the companies that sell transaction data back to the states. So states are aware what businesses are doing transactions. They're just gearing up for 2021.
Oh, and I'm now chair of our elementary principal advisory council. And yeah, we're already talking about how do you deal with next year and revenue being lower for the school. Like we're not going to have the same, revenues to pay for things. And so they're going to be going after it more.
So what's your plans? That's the question. Now,
Yay.
and again, if this is something that you're unsure of, we're always more than happy to get on a call. There's at least once a day I talk to somebody who's unsure. And if a solution or if they don't have an issue right now, doesn't make sense, always provide contact information. We'd love to at least be a resource moving forward. We want to partner with you long term. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always more than happy to either point you in the right direction or form that partnership.
And what was that email again?
Well, let me pull that up.
Is it Jamie, you directly? Or is it the partner one?
Hold on, sorry here.
It's okay.
Share screen. Yeah, since I'm the partner manager and most of you folks on this call are in the accounting industry, work through me so that I can make sure you get the proper spiffs and commissions on any referrals you send our way, and then I'll send you right on over to Mr. Andreas.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what, again, was there a link to sign up for the partner program, or is it just email you? You got it.
Email me and I'm going to send you the details. Nothing's easy, right? You can go to our partner page. There's 3 different partners types to choose from. I will handhold you through this process. And honestly, that is what our team of 25 people want to do. We want to white glove the experience for you guys and your clients. No question's a dumb question. Never be afraid to reach out and ask us if you're pending Nexus or whatever it is.
Right.
The whole kit and caboodle. We're just here to support you guys.
That's awesome, guys. Well, I mean, we have a minute left. I guess we can wrap it up any more that we can wrap it up. You guys put a pretty darn nice bow on everything.
Thank you for having us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you guys for being here. We got to thank you in the chat.
Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate it.
And guys, this video is going to be up on the QBO Chat website. So if you have friends or colleagues that really need to know about this, and you're worried about, helping them out in their practice and everything, please direct them over there so that they can watch this too, because this will be up for a while. It's important stuff. So
thanks, Kathy.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
and
everybody stay safe.
Yes, have a great holiday next week. And we'll see you soon.
Be good. Bye.
Bye.